The Minnesota Vikings get a very ugly 17-9 win over the Chicago Bears on Monday Night Football. Vikings moved to 7-7 on the season, going into the playoff picture. Now, the Vikings right now are in the NFC playoff picture as a 7 seed after beating the Chicago Bears on a very bad win, but we'll put that aside. The win helps us going forward, and just come in with a better performance against the Rams and the Bears the next time we play them as well, and also the Packers, of course. The Packers are already locked down the division, but Vikings are 7-7 and locked down the second spot in the division, eliminating the Bears from the playoffs and moving to the 7th seed in the NFC. Now, the Vikings are the 7th seed right now, but the Washington football team will play the Philadelphia Eagles today, 6 o'clock Central Time. So obviously, I hate the Eagles. I don't like the Eagles. Although I will say this, thank you, Eagles. I'd say this a lot. Thank you for drafting Jalen Reagor. So I guess I'm now an Eagles fan for that one reason. Thank you, Howie Roseman. You're now my favorite GM. But now that the Philadelphia Eagles will play the Washington football team, hopefully the Eagles can come up with this win and Vikings can likely make a playoff run. Now, like I said, I'm cheering for my team to make a playoff run. If they don't, I don't care. I mean, best case scenario, I understand, is missing the playoffs. But again, I'll just continue to cheer for my team to make the playoffs and cheer for my team to continue to win. But Bears fall to 4-10 on the season, not where they expected to be, and the Vikings did not expect to be a 500 team right now. Vikings are easily the best 500 team in the NFL. Now, you did not see it the last two games. Vikings are coming off of two ugly performances. This is a 17-9 win over the Chicago Bears without just about all of their starters on defense. We were playing an entirely second team defense last night. A entirely second team defense, and the Vikings were only able to put 17 points on the board. Not only were the Vikings only able to put 17 points on the board, but only 193 yards of offense. So just an atrocious performance. Not only did the Vikings offense have a bad performance, but the Bears had a bad performance. And that's not the only two sides that had a bad performance. The refs had a bad performance. And matter of fact, the refs had the worst performance in this game. Bad calls going on both sides of the field. Now, we remember this. Justin Jefferson called the clear, blatant holding foul that was easily a holding, and it led to a Kirk Cousins interception. Now, that interception was played all over ESPN. That interception was played all over NFL Network, as we expected it to be, because again, it's Kirk Cousins. Anytime he messes up, everyone makes a big deal about it. And this wasn't even Kirk Cousins' fault. As a matter of fact, it should have been overturned due to the blatant missed call. Now, with that being said, though, even though that was maybe the worst call of the night, was missing that call, the refs were on our side. And this is a very, very rare occasion where the refs are actually on our side, giving multiple. They were not afraid to throw the penalty flags. How many penalties? 15 penalties. 15 penalties in one game. That's unbelievable. Just a terrible performance. I mean, both offenses played bad. The refs were the worst they were all season. This was a blocked punt, a blocked kick, a muffed punt. I mean, what are we watching right now? We look like we're watching week 1 of the NFL. We look like we're watching a game where these players haven't played all season. Not only that, but there was 7 turnovers. Just an atrocious performance on Monday Night Football. And it just came down to who sucked more. And who sucked the most was the refs. But besides that, it was the Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears shot themselves in the foot offensively. Their defense came up with a great performance. They were all from practice squad guys. I mean, no-name players who were drafted 6th and 7th round coming out there. Great performance by the Chicago Bears defense. Awful performance from their offense. Terrible performance from the Vikings offense. And as a matter of fact, the way the Vikings played, if I told you the Vikings got only 193 yards of offense, no way would you think the Vikings won this game. Now, the Vikings won this game 17-9, but it was technically a 17-3 win over the Chicago Bears because obviously there was a touchdown on the last play. As a matter of fact, the Vikings can't win a normal game. It just doesn't happen. We knew this going into this game. Vikings had a 2-score lead going into the fourth quarter. We figured it's going to come down to a 1-score win because every game so far this season has been, for the Minnesota Vikings, has been decided by 1 score other than the Seattle Seahawks game. Every other game has been decided by 1 score, and that's why that final touchdown made this game decided by 1 score. It didn't come down to the final play for once. But still, the Vikings punted 17. The Vikings punted 7 times in this game. 7 punts in one game, and the Vikings won this game. We did not deserve this win at all. The way the Vikings offense came out there, we didn't deserve this win. And every time we play the Bears at Soldier Field, it's the same story. Not only did the Vikings only win by 8 points and it was a 17-9 win, the last time we played the Chicago Bears at Soldier Field, 19-13. Last time before that, 6-16. So every time the Vikings play the Bears at Soldier Field, we just come with a bad performance. It happens every time, and somehow the Vikings were able to win on an ugly performance like that. But looking into it more, Kirk Cousins only had 87 passing yards. That's a career low for him and terrible performance. I mean, going into this year, it was typical where we see the Vikings lose on primetime, but it wasn't Kirk's fault. And Kirk gets the blame for a lot of Vikings losses that aren't his fault. The last two games were a different story. The last two primetime games, this one Monday Night Football against the Bears, the one before that against the Pittsburgh Steelers, both times Kirk came with a terrible performance, and the Vikings were still able to win. Now you can't just dismiss the fact that this offensive line played horrible and have the last two games. I mean, I don't understand why this Vikings offensive line, the more we go into the season, the worse they look every single week. Every week, the Vikings offensive line look worse. Christian Darrisaw didn't have a great performance. Now, he's a rookie, so we're going to cut him some slack. Ezra Cleveland, again, just an average performance from him. Garrett Bradbury, not great. Brian O'Neill, still a great right tackle who should be in the Pro Bowl. Mason Cole at right guard. Who decided it was a good idea to start Mason Cole at right guard? As a matter of fact, it's not even just that you started Mason Cole at right guard, because it was Mason Cole, Oli Udo, like they're both terrible right guards. Vikings are just cursed at right guard in general. Not only did the Vikings just play Mason Cole at right guard, but the Vikings haven't played Wyatt Davis all season so far. Wyatt Davis was the top-ranked right guard by PFF going into the 2021 draft, and that's the reason why the Vikings drafted him in the 3rd round. Yet we haven't seen him play all season. So Wyatt Davis is just, I know he might be injured right now, at least that's what they're claiming, he's injured. Again, just make Wyatt Davis come back, because he can look better than the way Mason Cole has been playing at right guard, who got thrown around by Akeem Hicks all game. Now, I'll cut him some slack. It is Akeem Hicks. He's a great defensive lineman. But on top of that, Mason Cole is just not fit for the position. He shouldn't be a starter, and the Vikings should not bring him back for a new contract unless if he's going to be a backup center to Garrett Bradbury. At that, though, Minnesota Vikings offense had a terrible day. Kirk Cousins, 50 completion percentage on 87 yards, 2 touchdowns and an interception. I mean, that interception wasn't his fault. That interception was a blatant missed holding foul. Justin Jefferson did get 10 targets in this game, but at that only had 4 receptions on the 10 targets for 47 yards and a touchdown. Dalvin Cook got 28 carries. Very typical performance from Dalvin Cook, getting 28 carries, but with those 28 carries, he only had 89 yards, which averages to 3.2 yards per carry. Now, this Vikings offensive line was the biggest problem in this game. The two biggest problems in this game were the Vikings offensive line and Clint Kubiak. I mean, Clint Kubiak, he called a bad day. He had a couple great calls, but he called a bad day, and he called a bad day, but Matt Nagy called a worse day. So the best play caller out there was Clint Kubiak. He was calling a better playbook than Matt Nagy, Matt Nagy just ran, I feel like he ran more screens than we did. That's how incredibly bad he was at a play caller. Matt Nagy and Mike Zimmer might be the two worst head coaches in football right now. We just saw the two worst head coaches go head to head and put on the worst performance on Monday Night Football as expected. But again, Vikings offensive line just played awful. Dalvin Cook was running into a brick wall all game long. Kirk Cousins was sacked season high 4 sacks in one game, was rushed all around the field. He did use his legs a little bit there too. I love to see Kirk run with his legs, but still he was sacked 4 times, pressured all day. Dalvin Cook had nowhere to go. You're going up against a second team Bears defense. You should be able to have a better performance than that. We're without a lot of their playmakers on offense. We were out Adam Thielen. I might miss some names here, but Adam Thielen, Alexander Madison, he wasn't out there. Dede Westbrook was injured as well. Dan Chisena is mostly a special teamer, but he didn't play as well, and he's technically an offensive playmaker. But who did step up were our Iowa rookies. Yeah, sorry, I just hit my mic. Yes, I am so happy that our rookies have finally stepped up, because all season long, I've been asking for these rookies to get some more playtime. I've been asking for more from Patrick Jones, asking for more from Christian Darrisaw, and I want to see Wyatt Davis play as well. And then Kellen Mond too, but I don't know why Kellen Mond's not even on our active roster. But I love to see these Iowa rookies step up, both being Kane Nwangu and Amir Smith-Marset. 2 Iowa rookies stepped up into this game and had a great day. Kane Nwangu only had 3 carries, but with those 3 carries had 33 rushing yards, which averages to 11 rushing yards, or 11 yards per carry. Kane Nwangu, so far this season, and this season will likely end as the Vikings' best rookie of the season, being drafted in the 4th round out of Iowa State, has already become one of the best kick returners in the NFL. And after this, Kanaten Wangu, he runs a 4-2-3. If he finds the open field, he is lighting up the field. He's going to burn defenses. And I love to have Kanaten Wangu on our list. And that's why I'm going to ask you guys, should the Vikings trade away one of their running backs? Because in all honesty, we don't need Alexander Madison and we don't need Dalvin Cook. Now, I know Dalvin Cook is loved by a lot of fans, and we can get a lot from trading him. They'll be very good against the cap for us as well. Alexander Madison can be a starter somewhere, and then Kanaten Wangu, love to see him in purple and gold with the Minnesota Vikings, just having a tremendous rookie season. And then Ihmir Smith-Marsette got his first receiving touchdown of the year. Ihmir Smith-Marsette, 5th-round draft pick out of Iowa, did get his first touchdown in the NFL this game, and I believe he had 2 receptions in this game. It was 1 or 2, but he got his first NFL touchdown, and when he got that touchdown, was holding onto that ball to make sure he keeps that, and expect to see more of Ihmir Smith-Marsette going forward. That being said, we just went over all the bad with this Minnesota Vikings team, and the only good thing we mentioned was the fact that the Vikings won this game. And the Vikings won this game 17-9, does not feel like a very good win. 17 points against the Chicago Bears defense when we're playing their entire second team defense. I believe they only had Roquan Smith and Akeem Hicks out there as their starters. They might also have a couple rookies who I don't even know that were out there as well, but as a whole, Vikings should have had a better performance than this, and I did not expect this at all going into this game for the Vikings to have that bad of an offensive performance. It's like if the Vikings don't play on Sunday, their offense looks bad. We played on Thursday. We looked good in the first half on Thursday, but that was because Dalvin Cook went untouched in all of his runs. And then in this game, once again, we played bad. We just don't play good on primetime, and it's just facts with the Minnesota Vikings, and you hate to see it. The last time we were on primetime before these last 2 weeks was against the Dallas Cowboys, and the Vikings, again, came with an awful performance. But looking at the good here, the good was this Vikings defense came together. Now, the Chicago Bears offense is bottom 5 in the NFL. And maybe bottom 10. I mean, there's some bad offenses out there, but they're bottom 5, bottom 10 in the NFL. But we didn't expect the Vikings defense to even have a good day at that, because the Chicago Bears offense, despite the fact that they're terrible, we make every opposing offense look good. Until last night, this Vikings defense came with an amazing performance, and you love to see it. The Vikings blitzing all of their linebackers to be able to get to Justin Fields and be able to stop that run. David Montgomery, who typically owns the Minnesota Vikings, and he did so in the first half, typically always has a great day against the Minnesota Vikings, only had 60 rushing yards. Let's go, Vikings defense. This is what we've been waiting to see. This is why we signed Michael Pierce. This is why we signed Dalvin Tomlinson. This is why we have Anthony Barr on our roster as well, is the fact that we should be good against the run. Eric Kendricks, again, the best middle linebacker in the NFL, was also ejected from this game for... It was a stupid call, but whatever. That's doesn't even matter. Eric Kendricks wasn't having a great day anyways. But that aside, David Montgomery had 18 carries for 60 yards. That averages to 3.3 yards per carry. Now, he did get loose on a couple of runs, and again, we set our expectations very low for this Vikings defense, but still, Vikings defense came up with a big day. Not only did they contain David Montgomery and contain Justin Fields, but were able to get 3 sacks, 3 fumble returns, and allowed 0 touchdowns. Well, I guess there was the garbage time touchdown on the final play of the game, but outside of that, the Vikings allowed 0 touchdowns in this game other than the garbage time touchdown. Great job, Minnesota Vikings defense, and at that, come on, Vikings defense. We have to bring this performance going forward. Cameron Dantzler forcing a fumble. Cameron Dantzler is going to be our starter going forward now that we don't have Bashaud Breeland on our roster, so we have high hopes for Cameron Dantzler. Now, Dantzler, I said it multiple times in this podcast, and I'll continue to say it. He's a very limited player. He doesn't have a very high ceiling as a lot of the other Vikings young players do. But with that being said, I mean, Cameron Dantzler is able to contain a lot of these receivers as he was against the Chicago Bears and as he should be going forward. Minnesota Vikings defense came up with a big day. And then we're crediting this Vikings defense a lot. The Chicago Bears just dropped every pass. There was multiple drop passes on the Bears offense. It was kind of like the Carolina Panthers game where they were just dropping the ball all games. I didn't count all the drops, but I'd say there was around 6 drop passes by the Chicago Bears offense, and that benefited our defense a lot, and that's part of the reason why we're crediting him this much in this game. But DJ Wonnum, love to see him step up. I mean, It sucks to see what happened with Everson Griffin, and he's likely not going to play the rest of the season with the Minnesota Vikings. It sucks to see Danielle Hunter go out with another injury. I mean, he's one of the most talented players in the NFL, and he continues to get injured and leave the season. But it's good to see DJ Wanham, our young 2020 draft pick, able to step up into that role and look this great. Our 2020 draft class, you guys, that 2020 draft class is coming together. I mean, obviously, Justin Jefferson looks great. Ezra Cleveland's already one of the best left guards in football. DJ Wanham obviously just looking great at defensive end as well. You love to see it. And then Cameron Dantzler is decent as a starting corner alongside Patrick Peterson. That 2020 draft class was great with the Minnesota Vikings. And as a matter of fact, the Vikings, Timberwolves, Wild, and Twins, I believe. I don't follow the Twins as much, but I believe all four of those teams had a great 2020 draft class. Just a great year for the Minnesota Vikings. Not a great year for the world, but a great year for the Minnesota Vikings was that 2020 draft class. But taking a look into this Minnesota Vikings player of the game. Vikings player of the game, the refs. Must be a little mistake there. Vikings player of the game is DJ Wanham. DJ Wanham had 8 total tackles in this game, had 3 sacks. That's a career high 3 sacks for DJ Wanham. Great performance. Love to see him come together. 2 tackles for loss and a forced fumble. DJ Wanham coming together on this Vikings defense looks great. Not only did he have 3 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, but was rushing Justin Fields all game and made Justin Fields run all over the place and throw the ball away. Great job by DJ Wanham. Guess you can say DJ Wanham the game. Sorry. Next week, the Minnesota Vikings will host the LA Rams at home, 12 o'clock on Sunday. This game will be on Fox. The Minnesota Vikings will host the LA Rams. 9-4 LA Rams. It's going to be a little bit tough. They won't be 9-4 when we play them next week. The Rams do play tonight. They play the Seattle Seahawks at 6 o'clock. They'll play the Seattle Seahawks and either be 10-4 or 9-5 the next time the Minnesota Vikings will play them. Either way, it's going to be a tough game for this Vikings team. And we're going to be previewing this on Thursday coming forward. I hope you all do tune into that. We'll be previewing the next game for the Minnesota Vikings, and this will be huge. This will be huge. This will decide the Vikings season, this next game. And Vikings fans, this is going to be a home one. You have to get loud. This Vikings defense needs your help. If you are going to this game, you have to get loud because this Vikings defense needs your help against that Matthew Stafford and that offense. But with that being said, thank you.